Paying keen attention to every details, as many would say, can save you a lifetime of headaches. A saying that, to me, is not just a partial truth, but a full and undeniable one. Expanding on this, one of my favorite sayings comes to mind. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. A profound truth that requires no further embellishment. Or does it? Hold up. What could I possibly add to such a perfect quote that hasn't already been said? If I were to rewrite it, to make it mine, to make it resonate even more deeply with what I'm about to express, I'd say this. The apple doesn't fall far from its roots. There's something about the word roots that dives deeper, striking the core of everything. Roots give life to the apple, anchoring the tree to the ground, ensuring that every piece of fruit is born from a foundation of truth, good or bad. What could anyone say to deflect that? To oppose it? To be defensive about it? It is, without question, the nail meeting the hammer in perfect alignment. Undeniable. Undefeated. It's a truth as unyielding as Floyd Mayweather's record, or as ruthlessly decisive as Mike Tyson in his prime. When the truth is this clear, there's no room for contradiction, no space for debate. Enough said. Let's jump into the ruthless subject at hand, a topic that I know will carry 1,000 interpretations. Why? Because we live in a society where people rarely read the full story. Instead, they skim, pluck out whatever fits their narrative, and spread it across the world with the speed of a pandemic. Do I question whether such individuals are smart or intelligent? Never. Their actions speak louder than their intentions, leading me to conclude one thing. Insecurity will forever be their portion. I don't like white people. Let's sit with that sentence for a moment. Just that one statement. No explanation, no elaboration, just a period at the end. Dead serious. Now, imagine the uproar it would cause if left like this. No room for daylight, growth, or clarity. In the society we live in, partial truths, self-serving truths, or outright lies have more gravity than the full story. And the person, me, who dared to write those words would likely be labeled with the worst names imaginable. This is the custom of our culture, isn't it? Cancel culture. But let's be honest, cancel culture isn't just about the word itself. It's about people. People who are often objectively ignorant or too wrapped up in their emotional reactions to pause, reflect, or calculate the consequences of their judgment. People who cast stones at anyone or anything that offends their sensibilities, often without fully understanding the context. Again, I don't like white people. Take me on a journey with you for a moment. If I came across a book titled, I Don't Like Black People, written by someone who isn't black, my reaction would not be to burn it or cancel its author. No, my reaction would be, take me on a journey, Mr. or Mrs. Author. It would become a retreat for me, a chance to understand a perspective so bold that it dares to write against the grain of societal norms, knowing the stones waiting to be thrown. Because, you see, not many writers are willing to take that risk. Not many are bold enough to say the unspeakable, to step into the storm and come out with something meaningful. As a writer myself, ruthless one, I admire that kind of audacity. Writers like that create work worth retreating into, worth debating, worth understanding. So yes, I don't mind being on a retreat with such a writer. In fact, I welcome it. I was in a library in Brooklyn not too long ago, focused on one of my coding studies, when an undercover officer blatantly accused me by saying, "This man doesn't like white people." It happened in the middle of a library where everyone else was quietly doing what you'd normally expect in such a setting. At first, I thought it was just an absurd outburst. But as I observed the situation more closely, it became clear that it was a setup. The people seated around me weren't just ordinary library goers. They were actors, playing their roles alongside the main person who made the statement. Instantly, I got into character myself and responded boldly, "I don't like white people." And now what? If this was some sort of performance meant to provoke or expose me, I decided I'd play along and let the world see the full episode. After all, if this was a circuit, why not push it into the mainstream? You might wonder how I knew she was an undercover officer. She works as a police officer at one of the courthouses downtown, a place I've been to many times. She has always seemed to have an issue with me, along with those who look like her, assuming that my demeanor or approach toward her was evidence of my supposed dislike for white people. Her decision to pull that stunt in a library caught me off guard, but I'm not new to surprises. I've learned that if you always stay ready, you'll never have to get ready. What would you think of a white woman who, within a few months of knowing her, gets you sent to jail for the first time in your life? How would you feel about a woman who tells a judge that you wanted to hurt or kill her while she was inside your apartment? What would you say about such a woman who claims you held a gun to her head, stole her cell phone, and left her unable to call the police? Imagine being accused by the same woman of brutally beating her, with supposed bruises as proof, and then finding yourself locked up on what was meant to be one of the most significant days of your life, your birthday, or close to it. How would it feel to be handcuffed for the first time, as a black man, under those circumstances? What would run through your mind? What would be your reaction to such actions coming from a white woman? This is where it gets even more interesting for me.